So this is the first program in Casa da Musica's Year of the Orient, and we couldn't, I think, have a more perfect constellation of works to begin this exciting new series. We have on the program a piece by Borodin, a piece by Prokofiev, and a piece by Unsuk Chin. And one of the many exciting things about the Year of the Orient here in Casa da Musica is the fact that Unsuk Chin is going to be the composer in residence for this year. So it's fitting that we begin with one of her wonderful orchestral works, Rokana, for full symphony orchestra, which you can see behind me without any musicians, but it's an enormous orchestra, and the same for the Prokofiev, the Scythian suite. And Unsuk Chin is going to be here throughout the season. Her music is going to be performed throughout the season, and she's even writing, as we speak, I hope, a new work for the orchestra, which will have its world premiere here in Porto. So it's a very exciting year for the Casa da Musica, and I'm very proud to be doing the first concert. I mentioned we have three composers. The first is Borodin, and we're starting off with his work In the Steppes of Central Asia, which was written in around 1880 and premiered in St. Petersburg under the baton of Rimsky-Korsakov, another one of the great Russian composers who was capable of creating the sounds of the Orient in his music. Think of Scheherazade, for example. And in Borodin's Steppes of Central Asia, you hear two main themes. One theme is his idea of Russia, this theme, which meets an Asian theme, and those two themes are played independently by different parts of the orchestra. And then as these two caravans of people meet in the middle of the piece, they're played on top of each other until finally at the end of the work all you hear is the Russian theme. And so this is Borodin's idea of delving into the sound of the Orient, creating what he felt like was an Oriental theme. And then we move on to the new piece by Unsuk Chin, or excuse me, it's not new, it was written in 2008, but for Portugal it's a new piece. It's the first performance in Portugal of this piece, Rokana. And in fact that name is a Sanskrit word which means room of light. And in the piece, Chin is working with the idea of the refraction of light and how light works in the physical world. And as she describes it, she thinks the medium of music is a very effective way to describe light, because of course light is waves and music is waves. So it's a piece full of horizontal concepts. There's very little pure rhythm in the music. There's a lot of color, effect, and light to take the idea literally. It's a very difficult work for the orchestra. We've just spent many hours deconstructing it, working on it slowly, but it's incredibly worthwhile, that work, because she has a phenomenally refined ear and concept of how to create colors from this amazing virtuosic instrument which you see behind me. She plays a lot with overtones and different collections of overtones to give the ear impressions of different grades of lighting. And what's interesting also is, of course, Unsuk Chin is an Oriental composer dealing with what she herself describes as the very European, Western European concept of a symphony orchestra, a big 19th century symphony orchestra. And she herself says that she's trying to avoid using it in that way that we're used to, and rather to try and free herself of those 19th century bounds on the symphony orchestra and use it, as she says, as a virtuoso instrument and as an illusion machine, so she can create illusions for the audience. And then we come finally in the program to Prokofiev's Scythian suite, written in 1915, just a couple of years after the Sacre du Printemps was premiered in Europe. And he was introduced to Diaghilev. He played Diaghilev, apparently a bit of his piano concerto. Diaghilev thought it was fantastic and suggested that he should write a ballet for the Ballet Russe in Paris. And so Prokofiev went away and started working. He received the idea of a prehistoric theme, a sort of Russian Oriental theme based around the Scythian Empire, which stretched from, I think, around 6 centuries before Christ into the post-Christ era. And they were a warrior people mixed between the sort of Western European peoples and then the Eastern peoples. It's an Iranian tribe. And he, in the music, is trying to, like Stravinsky before him, is trying to grasp this idea of articulating that wild, for them, wild warrior nature in music. And a lot of what comes out is similar to Stravinsky's Sacre du Printemps. There's a lot of verticality in the music. There are a lot of what we would think of as rustic themes and themes from prehistory. And so we have 3 different composers all approaching the symphony orchestra with the idea of creating sounds which are not related to Western Europe, but are related to the Orient and to every part of Europe that's beyond the Caucasus. And I, for one, am very excited to be conducting the concert, and I hope that everybody who comes to the concert will be just as excited. See you there.